Hi, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I want to bring attention to this whole concept of second wave. And what does that mean, right? Well, there will more than likely be some level of normalcy returning, which can actually trick people into thinking that, oh, everything's going to be fine and we're overcoming this coronavirus. So the second wave is more about a new strain and a lot of people potentially dying, like a lot of people dying. So what we've seen so far, supposedly, is nothing compared to what we're in for. And wow, that sounds like fear. That sounds like, woo, conspiracy theory, right? Well, I wish, but it does exist, but it's an agenda. Somebody might have that plan. A big group of people might have that plan, but the percentage of those that are involved with that is so much smaller than the benevolent creation that we're a part of, the unconditional love of source and the deeper potential that exists within most humans. So we have to get in touch with that. We are on the cusp of something major. We've been in an ascension window period for quite some time. Problem is that word isn't always defined in a way that helps us to be more accountable. It just can lead a person to think, oh yeah, we're just gonna, move into a better world. Everything's gonna be fine. And some savior's gonna come and this and that. And they're kind of banking on us continuing to externalize our spirituality, which is what religion has done. So we're on the cusp of a second wave that relates to us as sovereign spiritual beings that can listen to our own inner voice, connect with our own higher self, bring that higher self-awareness into our physical lifestyle, and begin to let it dominate our choices and the actions that we take in our life in order for this parasitic system to fall away. So it's hard to know who's who, but that's where research comes in. This is a critical time. You can't just return to life and just accept, a feeling of false normalcy. Everything has been in a transformation cycle for a while anyway, but it's a major upgrade. There are forces, though, that want it to be a downgrade. So I would highly encourage people to utilize this time to understand the conspiracy realities instead of the conspiracy theories. And one great source that I recommend to people is from a woman who is a former FEMA insider. And she talks about a much more severe second wave coming and the attacks that she's gone through. And it's not something that's going to be easy to digest, because anybody who is hoping that a lot of the conspiracy theories are false isn't going to like what they hear. This woman was connected to 9/11, Y2K, and a lot of these different false flag scenarios that have taken place. And it's really important to gain the knowledge, because knowledge gives us protection. Once we have the knowledge of what somebody is going to do, we can begin to activate a solution. It's the not knowing that doesn't serve us. It's also the unconsciousness that is a form of denial, and also a form of fear. And sometimes we don't want to admit it's fear, but there's no greater fear than actually shutting down your own ability to think for yourself and hear your own intuition, and then have somebody else like steer the ship for you. We're better than that. We are all born with an incredible ability to advance ourselves and reclaim that which was lost. This window period is highly significant. It's way different than anything that we've had available to us for the last 26,000 years. The level of injury that's taken place in our galactic history of our DNA begins in the Lyran system. And then that stepped down to the Orion Wars. And then we dealt with exploded planets, and that fragmented our consciousness. And that was easily taken advantage of. When we dropped down into this lower density, it didn't mean that like this was just limited to 3D. The 3D became a program. It became an overlay, a 10-sphere artificial tree of life construct that basically affected the natural earth grids and turned our a huge portion of our DNA into junk DNA. The last memories we actually have of the galactic and other, experiences that we've gone through in the multidimensional sense of things, pretty much was finalized 5,500 years ago. The dark technologies were implemented about 26,000 years ago. And every 26,000 years, there's, these are cycles where the stargates begin to open, where there is something that takes place that is worth researching. Some of the evidence is in the Venus transits and the fact that the planet Venus has drawn a perfect pentagram in the sky, which is correcting and offsetting the inverted pentagram that has been used so much in the symbology of people who are into satanic ritual abuse and what these 13 families are connected to, and the hybrid nature of that, the reptilian DNA that is being used in order to possess these individuals through trauma-based mind control so that they can implement a artificial timeline that is about great enslavement of the human race. Depopulation, but not just that, actual like major abuses, separation of families, taking children away, coming to your house, invading your space. So the second wave could be way more gnarly, but people don't seem to realize that there's a second wave of ascension. And this is a time of upgrading. So the more we get locked into the narrative of, thinking that they're looking out for us and being contaminated by the propaganda that is trashing Trump and trying to ruin his chances of being reelected. I mean, everybody's got to step away from the programming. I don't have it all figured out. I'm not somebody who's, got it all figured out, but I mean, you got to look at what's going on here. This president has been so utterly attacked, where other presidents have been very protected, where what they weren't disclosing to the public was protected, and they were being raised up as heroes. Anybody who questions the deep state that is originating in the Khazarian mafia, Anunnaki, factions of the Anunnaki, and the original galactic wars of the Draco reptilian races, you have to just take a greater look. Everybody is so bent on the character flaws and actually arguing over the most ridiculous things that we're wasting crucial time, because right now we need to be paying attention to a much larger picture. These agendas are real. I was recruited to go off planet in 2006, so I saw this firsthand. I've had a strong connection with Eisenhower, who, I know I mentioned in another video, I feel sometimes downloads messages to me and helps me to just, stay on track with things. Many have said that he's my spirit guide, and I've been his spirit guide before, but I take that with a grain of salt, and that's beyond, my point right now. The point is that this false sense of normalcy that might be showing up is to sabotage everything when the next wave happens, to create a lot of insult to the people that have been protesting or seeking to have their rights respected. It's going to be like, oh, I told you so. Now look, now the virus has gotten worse, and now look at all the dead people. And it's going to further divide us and make people hate the conspiracy-minded people. So if you don't watch videos that will help you to understand the greater agenda, we're sort of in trouble. It's sort of like one of those major videos and interviews that is a full-on necessity in these times. So look it up. I will share the links in the description of this video. And you need to know that there is a blueprint of the New World Order, and it's explained. A lot of people that are whistleblowers are privy to these plans being put in place. But to everybody else, not everybody, but they're seeing it as, oh, wow, they're trying to take care of us. We need to wear masks. We need to socially distance. Yes, there is a real virus going on, but you know what the real virus is that we're not able to let go of the old paradigm. And when somebody's not able to accept a breakup with somebody that is abusive and that doesn't serve their life, they normally get sick. When we hold on to things that don't serve us, our immune system gets so lowered, it's ridiculous. The only time I ever had pneumonia was when I was going through a massive breakup. I wasn't ready to let this person go. Kids are involved. So I remember getting really sick. And every time I got really sick in life, was normally surrounding a breakup. So I'm not saying that because that's true for me, it must be true for everybody, but look at what's going on here. The lungs are being affected, the throat's being infected. Regardless if it came from a bioweapon or some virus, we're surrounded by dark weaponry and viruses and bacteria on an everyday basis. We got to ask ourselves, why are we in a weakened state right now? What is making us vulnerable to this? There's a certain level of heartbreak. People do not know how to break up and let go of the old paradigm. It is so conditioned into us. It's something that's been passed down generation to generation. It's embedded in our culture. It's embedded in societies. It's a part of our everyday life that we've been indoctrinated into. We're being asked to say goodbye to it and to reset it and rebuild and form greater community. And that goes beyond the programmings that create these cliques and this division and this sort of, I'm successful and I have a lot of money, and then this lower class and like, oh, these are the lower beings. That's all a lie. That is all BS. Deep down, we're all children of the Creator. We are also a part of the Creator energy. We all have an inner child. We all have great wisdom. We all have incredible skills and abilities. This construct has absolutely ruined our ability to heal ourselves because we're fragmented. So if we're fragmented as a humanity, we're fragmented as people. And we are not accepting certain archetypes and certain things about ourselves. And we're actually just choosing one facet of ourselves, and it makes everything else something we must judge and or discount or put a barrier up around. So can we stop listening to, what this parasitic system has been feeding us? Can we please just step away from it, turn off our devices for a little while and connect with the heart? And I know that this is also how we're communicating with each other, so we can't, completely let it go. But I mean, children are not born with these programmings, but very often as they grow, they start to remember past lives, or there's bleed overs of maybe things or wars they fought or belief systems that they held or different positions that they held in past lives. And the way that they're raised in their environment is going to shape that person to not be that true, authentic being that is filled with compassion and love and unity consciousness. So we are in a massive crossroads. We either deprogram as a humanity and we come together, or we allow all these differences of opinion to destroy us. It's really up to us, because the second wave coming in is counting on that. So I'm not here to battle people who support Gates or Fauci or any of these things and that think that social distancing and wearing a mask is a good idea. I don't care to belittle them. I don't care to battle them. All I care about is, can you please look at this other information? And I am just as open for you telling me why you support these people with love and respect. Yes, I might feel shocked that you haven't been able to see through it. You might be shocked that I, for some reason, am discounting all of that. So let's get to know each other. That is the best thing that we can possibly do. That's what heals families. That's what heals relationships, is that we get to know each other, because it's not about the outer players. It's about us. It's about what we need to rebuild. It's about protecting our DNA, because we are not even familiar with these dormant strands of DNA. We have amnesia. We have traumas, right? So just as we are on the precipice of being able to reclaim it, this is the sabotaging influence that is going to make it almost impossible. And most people won't even question it. They don't even see the larger picture of what's at stake. So I say this as a huge warning, but also a huge reminder. There's so much to look forward to. Let's have a second wave of being upgraded as humans, being able to reclaim our divine inheritance, our DNA capacity, and to move beyond this low level of relating with one another. Why are you, if you're so threatened by something you believe in to the point where you have to belittle and attack somebody, then it's probably not truth, because truth doesn't do that. Truth holds compassion. Truth holds patience. Truth holds solutions, and a lot of us wouldn't be sticking around here unless we believed in human potential, and we're just waiting for the open mind to, embrace, something else. But, if truth was made of insults and war, I think, it would be a much different picture. And there is not a whole lot of people that are actually really, truly standing in the vibration of truth. And it's not about being right. It's not about trying to create followers or that everything you say is correct. It's about appreciating diversity. It's about supporting your own personal empowerment. It's about doing everything possible to help you to stand strong with what inspires you, what your shadow work is all about, and appreciating the differences, because oneness is diversity and harmony. And we have a lot of work to do to be able to appreciate these differences, but your identity should not relate to a person outside of yourself or a political figure. We need to begin to get in touch with what it means to be ourselves. When your identity is a political party or somebody that's in a political position and you overly identify with that, I mean, that is part of the social engineering, and why we keep incarnating into this personality matrix is actually programming our ego to not be aligned with our soul and our connection to true spirit, which is a true God source, which is unconditional love. So we got to put that part of it all down, you know, and both sides run the risk of falling into way too much polarization. So it's not about trying to prove who's right, who's wrong, and have this information war. It's about saying, let's lay those swords down. In the Tarot, the swords are connected to the mental body. Let's lay these swords down. Let's go deeper. Let's be something better for each other, because the world is going to respond to us. The reason everything is such a mess is because we're a mess as a humanity. And it's not our fault. There are a lot of different events that have taken place, but we need this education. This is not in our history books. This is not in our science classes. There is so much that has been left out. So I just hope everybody has an open mind, because the second wave is no joke. And we are at a major crossroads. And we see evidence of this in digressed species of beings that are abducting individuals to get genetic material and to create hybrids to rescue their dying race. Well, why can't we just do that now? Why do we have to get to that point where people feel invaded and violated just to correct the mistake of something that ended up down a timeline that was all about artificial intelligence and transhumanism, because they decided to trust somebody like Bill Gates, who's not an elected official. So unelected officials should be highly questioned, right? You know, why our skies are being sprayed. Did you vote for that, right? So don't be afraid. This is a reunion and a re-emergence of your own relationship with your higher self and your ability to be a sovereign being. So don't let the fear get the best of you. Take it upon yourself to say, wow, these are the times that I can actually recover myself and think for myself and be inventive, creative, and solution orientated, and stand for what's right and do what's right and question everything. You know, if you feel like wearing a mask, wear a mask. You know, people that don't agree with wearing masks shouldn't belittle those that want to, and vice versa. Can we learn to have mutual love and respect? That's number one. We're all working on it, but if we commit to becoming better people, this is a place to start to protect ourselves. And let's forgive where we might have gone wrong and made mistakes and put our foot in our mouth and maybe didn't handle things as well as we could have. This is a time of almost having a life review. We're in a Pluto cycle because of its conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter, that literally we are, in a sense, going through a life review and a transformation. So the quarantine could be seen as a cocoon, and we're going to emerge as a butterfly, or the cocoon could be seen as a prison, and we can be bitter and angry at the cabal. Or the quarantine or cocoon can be seen as, oh, wow, this is the best thing for us because they're actually looking out for us. And this is, you know, this is them protecting us, you know, question that. So anyway, I could just keep going on. I don't even know if I'm going to post this, but the whole deal is the worst thing that we can do is belittle and battle one another. We have been dealing with weaponry and assaults and toxicity for thousands and thousands of years. We've been there, done that. We've survived all sorts of things. What is the lesson that we need to learn to not continue to repeat this? That, you know, we have greater priorities, and they're based in a spiritual and more enlightened, more evolved response to the challenging times. But that also requires humility, transparency, authenticity, and the willingness to face the shadow and fall down and be in that weakened state without projecting that it's a flaw. Look at it as a part of the transformation process. You know, enlightenment is not all like meditation and light and love. I mean, you know, we are dealing with major polarities, and we're in an integration of polarity. This is what the tree of knowledge is all about, and why we have compromised DNA, and that a huge part of it has been shut down, because we're here to learn the lessons of duality to earn the rest of our DNA, which is a tree of life and its 12 spheres, not the draconian 10 spheres, which is the artificial overlay. So we need to earn this, and we have it in, we shouldn't be that hard. You know why? Because it just comes down to simple things like integrity. And also the magical child, you know, we don't have to have it all figured out. Just be playful and in the moment, you know, allow the upgrades, trust the universe, trust the earth, trust yourself. You know, there's good things about this administration, and there's definitely positive things to support out there. But I think the greatest lesson is that we need to fall back on ourselves. We need to build community. We need to be trustworthy individuals. We need to help people transition out of negative patternings and relationships with the cabal by helping them transition out of the jobs and careers that are feeding it. Because a lot of people are willing to take a vaccination because they need a paycheck and they need to put their kid back in school. We who have resources need to begin to build communities that can offer other options. And so everybody, I hope you think about it, connect with your higher self, connect with your inner world, connect with your inner calling. We all are encoded with a solution. Our higher self and our inner self knows exactly what to do in these times. So just don't let yourself get played. Take care, everybody. Love you. Bye.